Hi everyone. Oh, let me fix my sound. Okay. I think you can hear me. I hope you can hear me. Let's see. Okay. Hi everyone. Welcome back to the live series What's on My Page. I'm really happy to have you here, whether you're watching this live or joining the replay. Thank you for being here. I know you could be doing a million other things on your Sunday, but I'm so happy to have you here with me to chat about what's on my page. And just as a quick reminder, this series is about making space for creativity in real time. It's about talking about what we're working through, what we're working on, and really reflecting on what our creative practice has looked like. Um, and just coming together to talk about how we're practicing and living out our creative birthright. And I think Malcolm might be joining us, or he's just going to stay off camera and poke at me. Let's see if we have anyone in the chat. There. So, how has your week been? How has your creative practice looked like this week? Um, Malcolm, Malcolm likes to get into my face. And if you're sitting there thinking like, "Oh, I didn't do anything creatively," I challenge you to rethink that because your creative practice could look like cooking, journaling, gardening, any movements, even when you're doing your makeup. Like, did you try something new? Problem solving, all of that is creativity. So, when I ask you, hey, what was your creative practice like this week? Include those things in it as well. Because even the smallest act of creativity counts. It's all about building your creative muscle. So, the smallest thing to the largest thing, it's all creativity. Malcolm. Malcolm doesn't like to sit still. So this week for me, I've still been struggling on finding the balance between content creation and like everything that goes into that and like my writing and then everything else that I have going on in my life. I'm preparing for something that's pretty important on Monday. So I put a lot of my energy into doing that. And I was reminded about like the time. I have a specific time frame between like 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. where I am the most productive and my brain is working the best. Um, and I was just reflecting on like if I'm using all of that time to do things that are not necessarily a part of my creative practice that are more work focused, more productivity focused. If I'm using all of my energy during that time on things that's not my creative practice, is really hard for me to then come back and add more, like try to do more work after 2 p.m. Especially after I've used up like all of my brain power all day. So I've been reflecting on that and sorry, Malcolm distracted me. But yeah, I've been reflecting on that and thinking like how can I use that to my advantage? Like right now, this is kind of kicking me in the ass because after 2 p.m., anything that I do, I'm going to get diminishing returns. And like, it makes me reflect on like, we're told, like, oh, you have 24 hours in a day, you can do so much because you have all this time. But actually, we don't. Like, I am my most productive. I am my best. I do my best work between 10 a.m. and 2 p.m. So, no, I don't have 24 hours in a day. And you cannot squeeze everything into that time frame. Like, that's less than 8 hours. So, what I'm thinking to do in this coming week is to find at least 1 to 2 hours in that time frame to dedicate it to my creative practice, because I'm doing myself a disservice if I'm not using my most productive time to do my creative work, like the time that works best for me. So I share all of that to say, like, maybe I'm doing a little bit of rambling, but I share that all of that to say, like, if you find yourself in a similar situation where you're trying to do more work after work, um, think about what time you're most productive and schedule some time for your creative practice during that productivity window. Or, and I don't even want to use the word productive. Um, Figure out when your brain works the best, like what time frame, what time of day, what is the environment like, and schedule some time to do your creative work during that time period. Like, don't do work for your 9 to 5 or whatever it is that's not necessarily feeding your creative practice. Don't spend all of your energy during the time frame where your brain is working the best doing something that's not, feeding your creative practice. And I'm telling you that, but I'm also like basically saying it to myself. What's up, buddy? Um, so yeah, that's kind of what I've been reflecting on this week in my creative practice, and I'm still giving myself grace because I thought, okay, I've figured out what the issue is. I'm gonna change it, and this next week is gonna be better. And it wasn't it was better in the sense that I was giving myself more grace and realizing, like, it takes a lot of time to do these things, and I'm thinking I can just quickly, I'm like holding myself to a timeline that's not realistic. So I have in this past week been getting more realistic around how much time it takes to do things, and not and giving myself grace to take the time that's needed to do the things that I want to do. So in that regard, I've made some improvements from last week, but I'm still struggling to find the time. So I'm going to try this thing where I carve out some time during my, you know, I have to find a better word for that, what I'm speaking about, but carve out some time during that time frame where my brain works the best, and focus on my creative practice during that time. So that's what I'm going to be doing in the week moving forward. Um, so I'm curious to hear from you as well. What has your creative practice looked like in this past week? What have you been working on? Have you like hit any milestones? Had any breakthroughs? Finished anything big? Let me know in the chat if you're watching this live. But if you're watching this in the replay, go ahead and put it in the comments, because I still want to hear from you and how your creative practice has looked like in this past week. And another reflection that I had this week um, was around the facts, and I think this is why I named the live "The Universe Provides," because I was reminded this week that the universe always provides. Like, whatever or whenever I focus on something, the universe is going to conspire to support me in that endeavor. And I'm conceptualizing this as the universe. Maybe you think of it as God, but this, I'm thinking about the divine, the creator. Um, and I had this, or I was reminded this week because I was thinking about, for this short story that I'm working on, I'm thinking through like what it looks like to um, basically come back to the fullness of yourself. And just randomly, like I listened to a lot of audiobooks, and randomly this audiobook was suggested to me that literally talks about that. It's like focuses on, and let me just pull up the audiobook so I have the right name of it. But it focuses on the Toltec teachings around this very thing that I'm like thinking through for my book. Not my book, my short story. Sorry, I'm looking for this audiobook and I said book. And why can't I find it right now? Let's see. Okay. Spotify is not showing me. Anyways, okay, yeah, The Mastery of Self. That's the book that popped up for me by Miguel Ruiz Jr. So I'm I didn't go out looking for this book. It just popped up as a suggestion for me to read. And then I start reading it, and it literally is talking through a lot of the subjects and the ideas I'm thinking through for my short story. So I'm like, wow. And it focuses on the mastery of self, which is a big part of my short story, is like that journey to fully understand yourself and reclaim every part of yourself. So that was just one example. And then one thing that I'm working on for my next video is looking at dance and exploring how that the creative expression of dance shows up for us. And my friend suggested I watch this TV series called Undone, and literally there's an episode about dance, and not just in is how it helps you like creatively and spiritually, and how it helps you move through trauma. And that's literally what I'm focusing on for my next video. So I'm like, wow, like this is just a beautiful reminder that everything will unfold as it should. As long as you make the first step and start walking towards what it is that you want, the next step is going to appear, and everything is going to conspire in your favor to support you in what you're doing. Um, and that also has bolstered my confidence to try new things, um, because it's reminding me that it's okay to do something I've never done before because I'll learn along the way. And I'm sharing that with you as well. Like, take that first step, and the next step will come. If you don't know how to do it today, you might not know how to do it tomorrow, but you'll have a few more pieces of the puzzle, and eventually you will be good at it. Um, so it's helping me to, or supporting me as I'm expanding my confidence. And I'm slowly realizing just, or I guess I'm stepping into the knowing that I have always been unstoppable, that no matter what it is that I want to do, I can do it. And I have a sneaky suspicion that that same thing is true for everyone who's watching this live or watching the replay. So I want to pass on this reminder that I got this week to you. And I hope that it supports you in building your confidence. Like, whatever it is that you want to do, you might not be an expert at it today, but still do it anyways. And there's so much beauty in that journey of learning how to do something new. Um, because like I may not have like when I got this book suggestion, I might not have continued reading it, or this audiobook. I may not have continued listening to it if I wasn't already incorporating some of these things into my creative practice through writing this story. Um, so yeah, just try it. You never know what's going to happen to you on the journey. Um, and as I mentioned, I'm currently working on a video about exploring dance in the African diaspora. And I want to, well, my goal is to understand how it has shown up as a healing modality, how it connects us to ourselves, to each other. Um, I also want to look at dance, like the similarities and the continuation of certain types of movement from West Africa through the diaspora. Um, and I also want to talk about how a lot of these, these hip and pelvic movements have been demonized, overly sexualized, made to be seen as something that's bad and you shouldn't do. But as I'm doing more research, I'm learning that like a lot of these movements have physical healing in them, and they are, it's like a place where we can access some of our power. And I want to look at it more broadly around and use it to show it as an example of how creativity is a place where you can access your power. And I kind of want to talk about or kind of explore why this, why was this demonized? If it's a place, like, is there a connection of the demonization of it and the fact that it's a place where we can access our power? So something I've been kind of working on is that's what's on my page this week. Um, and dance is something that I've always been, I felt a connection to and been interested in. I was in an African dance troupe when I was younger, and I took some dance classes in school. And just recently, I've gotten back into taking dance classes. I take like a soca dance fitness class. Um, so yeah, it's like something that's both of interest to me, and I from a from a creative standpoint, um, and then from like a scholarly standpoint, is really interesting to research and like see, because from like a point of doing African dance, I'm Black American, so knowing the dances that we do here in the States and then doing like soca and other Caribbean dances and kind of seeing that through line as a participant. And now like doing the research to, I guess, get that academic grounding around what the through line looks like. And I want to do some research on Catherine Dunham because she did a lot around dance. And well, obviously, she did a lot around dance. She has like a whole Dunham dancing technique. Um, but I think she also was like an anthropologist or something, which I find to be quite interesting. So that's really what's on my page, what I'm currently working on, and I'm so excited to finish scripting and put the video up and hear from you all, and get some engagement around your thoughts. Um, but it's also caused me to like reflect on the ways in which our we have been like forced to disconnect from an aspect of our creative power, whether it be like dance or the way that we express ourselves creatively in terms of the way way in which we dress. I've just been kind of reflecting on how that shows up for us. Um, and that's like the creative inspiration that I want to leave with you all today is to think about one way that you have disconnected from your creative power. And this could look like, maybe you stopped drawing, maybe you stopped singing in public, maybe you never learned the language that your grandmother spoke. Maybe you stopped playing an instrument because for whatever reason it was whatever the reason was, but like I would love for us this week to reflect on the different ways that we've been disconnected from our creative power because dance is reminding me that in creativity we can find so many powerful things that support us in our connection to ourselves, our connection to the world around us, our connection to healing, our connection to expanding in whatever way that we need to expand. So yeah, take some time and reflect on that and name it. Say it out loud. If you're here live, drop it in the chat. If you're watching in the replay, put it in the comments. But take some time to think about what aspect of your creative power have you been disconnected from. Um, and then research its roots. Like put some maybe academic grounding behind understanding that thing. Um, is it something that is like a part of your creative lineage? Like, did your ancestors do it? Is it practiced somewhere else? But do some research and like really just to combat that disconnection, go deeper in it and learn as much as you can about it with the time that you have. And then I'm not going to leave you with like some mindfulness ritual. Although, if that is helpful for you, please do one. But just whatever it is that you're disconnected from, take the step and do it. And like, so after you've done your research, just dive back into doing that thing. Um, and do it on a regular basis. So maybe it's once a week, maybe it's every day, maybe once a month, once a quarter, but bring it back into your life. Um, and on that note, um, as I've been doing this research on dance, I have actually taken a break from going to my soca classes. So I just did one at home. Then had me like a mini dance party after I finished the dance class. So like that's what I'm reclaiming is I'm going deeper into my dance practice and I'm gonna go back to my soca dance classes in person, but I can do it at home as well. So I'm using that. Um, and I'm going to commit to connecting and dancing more often because it's just everything I've been learning about dance is like, okay, I need to be doing this more often than I have. So, yeah, that's what I'm connecting with again. And I encourage you to commit to small acts of reconnection to whatever part of your creative power you have been disconnected from. So, yeah, that's all I wanted to talk with you all about today. Um, but I want to leave you with a few things, a few reminders from our discussion. First, you don't need to feel ready to begin. So I wanted to share that small example about how the universe has been supporting me and my work to remind you that just begin and everything that you need will come. And next, and one thing I've been reminded as I'm doing my research on dance is like suppression of creativity is suppression of your power. So don't allow for any disconnect to come into your creative practice because that's cutting you off from your power. So, yeah, that's all I have for you today. Thank you so much for joining, whether you join live or you're watching the replay. I'm grateful to have you here with me. Um, and remember to just drop in the chat anything that came up for you during this discussion. If you're watching it live, put in the chat. If you're watching the replay, put in the comments. And I will see you in the next video or in the next live.